Hello and welcome to another episode on the Life After Brady channel. Today we're going to take a look at the historical perspective of the 2020 NFL Draft and what we can learn from a couple of the other Bill Belichick drafts in the last 20 years or so. As we know, the Patriots took 5 picks Friday night after trading out of the first round and then had another 5 selections today, a 5th rounder, 3 sixth, and a 7th rounder. So what can we learn from this draft? First, we'll take a look at the highlights of the draft. The first 3 players were all on defense, and then it was a theme of doubling up or tripling down sometimes of really what their need positions were. They doubled up at edge rusher with Yuski from Michigan and Jennings from Alabama, and then the 2 tight ends at the end of the 3rd round, followed by the 3 offensive linemen in the 6th round. Overall, they had 10 selections, 5 on offense, 4 on defense, and 1 specialist in the 5th round, and 5 picks in the first 3 rounds, which is a theme we've seen a couple times. So with that being said, let's take a look back at a couple of the other drafts that mirror this and what we can learn from those drafts. We'll start with 2009. The Patriots, again, did not have a first-round pick. They traded out of the first round. They traded their 23rd overall pick and then traded to get to 26, and then 26 ended up being 41st and 73. You compare that this year, they traded 23 to get to 37 and 71. So comparable picks. In 2009, with those picks, they took Darius Butler and Brandon Tate, 2 guys that did play in the league but were not significant contributors to the Patriots. You'd hope that Kyle Duggar and Anthony Jennings will be much bigger contributors, but we shall see. They started with the DB, Patrick Chung, and then in 2009, and then Kyle Duggar here. Interesting is that Kyle Duggar is probably the Patrick Chung replacement. You know, as an in-the-box safety, he'll most likely be replacing Chung in Chung's second stint with the team. And then defense. And this goes back to, you know, at this point, Welker, Randy Moss were still in the team. You had Brady in the thick of things, but they wanted to rebuild a defense. They wanted to make sure they had a solid defense. And the first 3 picks for defense in 2009. They mirrored that in 2020. Let's go on to 2013, when again they did not have a first-round pick. And then similarly, they had 4 picks in the first 3 rounds versus 5 picks in 2020. And again, pretty big trade. This one worked out pretty significantly. They were able to acquire Jamie Collins, Logan Ryan, Josh Boyce, which Collins and Logan Ryan are 2 absolute studs. You'd love to see them be able to do that in 2020. If that's what happens, they'll be happy guys down the road. And then additionally, to me, this is what I thought of when I saw Duggar get picked at 37 was Jamie Collins. Jamie Collins went a little later. He went 52nd. But, you know, Southern Miss, another lesser-known school, similar to Duggar. So you didn't come in with much fanfare, but clearly can play, and you'd hope that Duggar has the same type of elite athletic ability, just, you know, develop later, lesser known. If he can do that, then, again, you'll be happy with the pick. And again, heavily defense. You know, these first 4 picks in the first 3 rounds, 3 out of the 4 were defense, which is a similar theme to what they went with tonight. And another nice draft of, you know, Collins, Ryan, and then Harmon were 3 starters for the Patriots for several years. That's another key that they're looking for out of this draft. Maybe you don't get studs. You know, Collins did make a Pro Bowl in 2015. Logan Ryan did not make a Pro Bowl that I know of. But, you know, 3 contributors, and that's what you're looking for, I think, in this draft. You probably didn't take the next Devin McCourty or Rob Gronkowski, but could you find 2 or 3 guys that can be very solid to B-plus contributors to your team moving forward is what you're hoping for. Let's now look at 2015. A little different. They did our first-round pick this year where they took Malcolm Brown. But again, they were looking defense. So right now, this is after the Seahawks Super Bowl, after the actual Broncos loss, I believe, is this year. And they went heavily on defense. You know, the first 4 guys were all on defense, similar theme this year. And then again, doubling up. And this is, to me, the best example of why you double up, is the second player that they took when they doubled up is actually the best player that they took. Trey Flowers, clearly the better pick than Geno Grissom. They only went 4 players apart. So probably a similar grade that they had on them. They just thought Grissom was a little bit better, but obviously Trey Flowers been much better. And then similar with the interior linemen, Shaq Mason and Trey Jackson, the 20 pick difference between the two, though they both went in the 4th round. And obviously, you know, Trey Jackson played 1 year. Shaq Mason signed a nice $50 million extension. So that's why you see those picks. they're going to, and I'll reference that a little bit later, 2010 when they took both tight ends, and Gronk and Aaron Hernandez could obviously both do a lot on the field. So you're hoping for that when you double up like they did. But this is the other alternative, is maybe one of these guys really hits with that third or fourth round pick versus one guy doesn't. So either scenario works. You're just hoping that not both guys is a bust. And that's how 2015 could lay out to 2020. So now take a look at 2016. Again, no first round pick. This was the year after Deflategate, so the first round pick was stripped of them. This is kind of the worst example of what you could be seeing in 2020. They took a DB first both years. This is why people don't love the Patriots taking second-round DBs. Cyrus Jones, obviously a bust, was cut by the team before going to the Ravens. Then, unfortunately, he's had health issues since then, very severe health issues. But this is what happens negatively. I would say one significant difference: Duggar went 37, Cyrus Jones went 60, and to me, and you can look at some other people that have done some more research on it, but the first two rounds, there is a big drop off as you go on. It's not like the fourth round where pick 100 versus pick 130 is more or less the same. I think pick 60 and pick 37. There's a significant difference of talent. You're getting top end talent in that early in the second round versus later in the second round. It's not the same. So that's the optimism behind it. The negatives, though, is besides Joe Thuney, there wasn't much from this draft. I mean, you got three asset-type people: Jacoby Brissett, Malcolm Mitchell, and Landon Roberts, and then you can throw Ted Karras in there. But you really didn't hit much. You didn't bring up a lot of depth, and part of why they've struggled 2018, 2019, 2020, and haven't hit it on a lot of depth is because you had years like 2016, where it just didn't work out. So that's the downside of what could be in 2020. I mentioned the 2010 draft. There are some similarities. A lot of top-end talent. This one was even more top-end. They had a first-round pick, 3 seconds, and a third-round pick, which compared that to the 2 second-round picks and the 3 third-round picks. And that's why this is the extreme example that I don't think you should gravitate to, but you should look at. McCourty and Gronk were top-end talent guys. 27 and 42, and for Gronk, he dropped to 42 because of talent reasons, which is not what I believe their top 5 picks dropped because of in 2020. So McCourty and Gronk are both going to be Patriot Hall of Famers, possibly NFL Hall of Famers, and that's just unrealistic to think right now that you drafted one of those guys right now. But you look more at Spikes and then McCourty, the middle of the decade, say, because he did start off with this Pro Bowl year and then kind of dropped off a little bit, at least in notoriety. You're looking for solid contributors, and that's what I think you're getting here. Probably a little less talent than they got in 2010, and again, some doubling up. I mentioned the Gronk and Hernandez doubling up, and just taking a lot of picks to see if you can hit. And it's just different than 2017, 2018, where they take lesser picks. 2008, 2009, 2010, and the last couple of years, 18, 19, and now 20. Are taking 10 or more guys to make sure they can hit as much as possible. And I'd be remiss if I'm talking about the 2020 draft and not talk about the 2019 draft. Not a lot of similarities. I think just an important theme that we hold throughout this is how the 2019 draft affects the 2020 draft because of the lack of playing in the 2019 draft. And that's obviously the Patriots do a lot with all their veteran players. It's hard to get young rookies on the field that don't have much experience. But Winovich and Bailey were the only ones that really played last year. So the 2020 draft, how does that affect what happens in 2019? I don't think it will affect it a ton. You look at the 3 out of the first 4 guys that didn't play: N'Keal Harry, Jawan Williams, and Damian Harris. They didn't draft guys at those positions. I don't think the safety this year is going to affect Jawan Williams, whether he's the 4th corner or something like that. That's not going to affect things. N'Keal Harry, obviously, they didn't take a receiver, and then running back, they also didn't take a running back. So those guys should not be affected by what they did in 2020, but we'll see if they can kick out veteran guys. Kajusti's the first guy that gets affected. They took 3 guys in the 6th round. Him and I don't even know if the 4th round guy is still on the team anymore, but that's where you see they'll be battling for spots, and we'll see who's the 6th, 7th, 8th offensive lineman come August and September. With that being said, those are the similarities that I think you can take to learn about the 2020 draft as we move forward into the summer. Thank you for joining us for another episode in the Life After Brady channel. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like. If you have any comments, please leave them below and subscribe if you are not already. Thank you.